Today I'm going to show you how to make refillable Easter eggs. These lined fabric Easter eggs are not only heirloom quality, but they also let you put in things into an Easter egg that would not fit in the traditional plastic eggs. You can have so much fun filling these eggs that come in a variety of sizes, and I have free patterns for all of them. You can customize with whatever type of fabric that you like, whatever colors. I had so much fun making some of these eggs out of an old button-up men's shirt. So these lay flat, they are super easy to store, take up much less room than the same amount of plastic eggs. You can make them in about 5 minutes once you get the hang of it, so let's get going. I do have a free pattern for the eggs. I will put that in the description below. I've got this pattern cut out. I'm going to have 4 rectangles of fabric that I'm going to be cutting out. And what I need for this 3 by 4 inch egg is something roughly about 5 inches wide, which will bring it to here, and then about 7 inches tall. Now this can be modified just a little bit, and definitely will be modified if you were to use something smaller or something larger. All right, got those rectangles of fabric, and I'm going to take off these 2 top layers. So you need 2 of these 4 rectangles, and put those aside, and then fold those in half so that the right sides are facing out and the wrong sides are in. So I'm just folding those in half. Now at this point, you can bring this over to your iron and iron it so that you have a little bit more of a crisper edge. What I'm going to do is I am going to sew right along the line. This stitching is going to be visible, so just FYI. As you can see, I stitched those edges. You don't have to follow any specific seam allowance. I would just get it as close to the edge as possible. All right, so now we have the other 2 pieces of fabric. The 2 rectangles, I have the wrong sides together and the right sides facing out. Now we're going to take one of these stitched halves and lay it on the bottom like that, matching up about the raw edges on the bottom. Now I'm going to take this other stitched one, fold that over, and this is where the envelope closure comes. I'm going to overlap it a little bit. So you can see that overlap in there. And this is going to be the pocket for the egg. And you can see that I did not do the raw edges up here. Now I'm going to come and take my pattern piece and make sure that if I put that pattern on top of the fabric as it is, that there's going to be enough on this top piece to be able to cut around and keep a seam allowance in there and be able to cut down here. So I'm just like adjusting the pattern just a little bit, just so I have enough room in order to cut around after I do stitches. Now, if this ended up being like too small, you can always adjust the depth of this envelope closure. And what we're going for is this type of envelope closure that it just kind of overlaps like that. Now, the reason I put this one down first is so that you have this like pocket on the back of this refillable egg. If you were to put the top one down first, then this pocket would overlap this, and it would just, I mean, it would still work, but it's just kind of a little bit better, I think, if the pocket is down here. That way you could put something inside and leave it open if you'd like. Now that we have that set up as to where we want the fabric in the pattern, I'm just going to take a pen and trace around the egg. And as you can see, we've got the egg traced, and then I went in and I just added a couple pins. And I'm going to do this through all of the layers, but just be sure to pin on the inside of the pattern piece. So now we're going to be sewing all along, leaving no opening on the stitching. Now, you want to start back stitching at the beginning and end of wherever you decide to start stitching. However, I would suggest as well that when you get to these sides right here where there's the envelope closure, that you might want to backstitch or back tack, however you call it, right on those as well, because that is going to be an area of the egg that is going to be getting a little bit more pulling on it, and you just want to secure that. Now, when doing this, I suggest just a simple straight stitch. A smaller stitch length is going to be easier because longer stitch lengths, there's just going to be harder to make these curves. Just go really slow. Try to follow the line as best as you can. Pick up the presser foot when you can to adjust and make those curves. And here we have everything stitched. I did a little bit of back tacking on either side. All right, almost done. So now I'm going to take some pinking shears and cut close to the stitching line, probably about 1/4 inch away from the line. So while pinking shears are preferable, if you only have normal scissors, that is fine as well. You can just cut along, leave about 1/4 inch seam again, and then you're going to do snips all the way around the curves so that it turns inside out better. I will show you a little demonstration of that in just a moment, but first let me cut it with the pinking shears. You can just cut the seam just like normal, but then you want to snip. And when you snip little straight parts through the seam allowance all the way around, pretty close to, but not cutting the stitching. Now it's time to turn it inside out, so just open up the flaps, push them through to the other side, and probably just take your finger. You can use like a turning tool, but I find like at this size, it's just easier to use your fingers to push out those seams. Get that curve in there. And then voila, you've got the egg. So at this point, you've got the pocket in there. Because this is a lined egg, it looks good when you open it up like that. You got the pocket where you could put something inside like this and not have to secure it. But if you did choose to put like some candy in here, you just simply fold those flaps like that. At this point, you can iron it to get rid of all these wrinkles and to make it real nice and crisp. I could probably push out that seam a little bit more. But you're done. I mean, seriously, these go so, you can make these so fast. And so this is the 3x4 inch egg, and this was a 2x3 inch egg. And you can make them even bigger than that. Super cute. Let me show you what it looks like to fill these. I got some of these chocolate eggs. So I could just put a couple in this small one. Then I'll show you in this big one, the 3x4 inch. You can add quite a lot of candies in there. And I'm just going to make sure I'm going to flatten it out. Have those flaps closed. And then you could just set that in a basket. But then look how easy it is to just get the candy out. And then your egg lays flat. It can be washed if you choose to do that, and you can reuse it again for next year.